The city of happiness, northeastern Thailand bordering on Cambodia. A 6.5-hour journey from Bangkok, yet in the middle of the country, you have this. Chang International Circuit, the destination of speed. And this weekend, as Blancpain GT Series Asia comes to town, car 911 is the one to watch as it carries the home favorite.
It feels great, really. It's both something that makes me nervous because of all the Thai fans that are coming to watch, but also something that gives me motivation because I feel comfortable at home and it's a pleasure racing here.
The circuit has been designed to F1 standards. MotoGP is already here too, and for the Thai driving hero, having the facility is a massive boost.
I think having a facility like this in Thailand is great for Thai motorsports because before there wasn't really a home for it, but now we have an established home here in Buriram, and I'm very proud to say that this circuit is top level. Everything is as high a standard as it would be in Europe. So having that here at home is something truly special.
At the start, we built small, but the circuit has expanded to meet the owner's vision of building the best circuit ever. That is why Chang International Circuit was born. For Kun Yuin Chichok, everything must be the best.
Thai driver on a Thai circuit, but will it be a Thai flag flying above the podium? A great weekend of racing ahead of us in what will be a surprising location for some. Hello and welcome. This is the Blancpain GT Series Asia. My name is Renai Matu, and after an incredible opening round in Malaysia, we are here in Thailand. Buriram is the scene at Chang International Circuit for rounds 3 and 4. Now, it's been hot out there in free practice, plenty of good action, and lots of good racing on the way. I'm joined by Stefan Rattal, CEO and the founder of Blancpain GT Series. We saw you at the start of the inaugural season. How have things been going?
Now we're very pleased because on this second season of the Blancpain GT Series Asia, we see that the series is stabilizing, and it's very important. It's good to make a success in motorsport, but it's even better to keep it and grow it. And we see a grid that grows in strengths, in diversity. We have here many different manufacturers that can pretend for overall victory, and we're also very pleased to see the GT4 category growing with now I think 11 cars, and that gives the prospect of maybe next year have a GT3 race and the GT4 race separate, so we're heading in a good direction.
Oh, that sounds good. Now, we're at Chang International Circuit. It's one of the newer, more exciting circuits on the Asian calendar. Why here?
But it's, you know, it's now one of the best circuits in Asia, and the Blancpain GT Series Asia is really a pan-Asian series. We have 2 races in Japan, 2 races in China, 1 in Malaysia, and it's logical to have 1 in Thailand. We want to be in as many possible Asian countries, and such a good circuit, we can't miss it.
Grid walk going on, and 29 cars coming out to play. Should have been 30, but unfortunately the McLaren from Clearwater Racing had a technical problem this morning, can't be fixed in time, so that has been withdrawn, but still huge field of cars here for the second visit at the Blancpain GT Series Asia.
I noticed you get loads of fans wherever you guys go, and Thailand's one of those places.
Yeah, Thailand's good for us. You know, OD Racing is owned by OD Group, and we've got a big group of members in Thailand, so it's cool. I mean, last night we went to a dinner, there was 2,000 people there, so Thailand is cool for us, and yeah, we enjoy it here.
Okay, so do you enjoy the track as well? How's the car in the heat?
Yeah, I mean, the track, I like the track actually, and I think it's quite a good track, but at the moment we're struggling a little bit in the heat. Audi seems to be a little bit far behind here, but hopefully we can have a good race. I mean, in Sepang we had a tough weekend. Here we've not quite recovered, but we're doing okay.
The track is very nice. It's pretty challenging. It's not let's say a very long circuit. It's around 1 minute 33, 34, 1 lap. So it's actually quite packed, everything. Yes.
3 sectors of the circuit. It's the international way of dividing things. Look, as we get the colours revealed, red is the first sector, 2 long straights up to the first corner, then a slightly kinked straight up towards the start of sector 2, and that includes the turn 3 hairpin we just saw the film of at the far end of the circuit. Then the track comes back down, goes around a series of lakes, but it's the 3rd sector that's really tight and twisty. So it's fast, middling speed, and then slower for the final section. 45 degrees. We saw 51 degrees track temperature earlier, so it shows the clouds are coming in a little bit to help. Humidity 58%. Well, it certainly feels more than that if you're standing down there on the grid. The lights are all on red. We're waiting until the entire field, all 29 cars, are through that final corner. They're going to have to throw it very soon indeed. Looks like a fantastic start from Niederhauser. Not a very good start at all from Leo Yi, falling down to 4th place. Should have been in 2nd. Up the inside goes the better of the Lamborghinis, and that's Dennis Lind, who's a real star of the car. We've got a spinner, though. Unfortunately, looks like the ARN Racing Ferrari's gone around in the background. That's really, really bad luck indeed. But I said turn 1 is a tricky one. But Martin Rump in the Audi is looking very serious indeed. He tries to challenge. He's leaving his braking as late as he can, snaking around in the Audi. The Ferrari's fighting back, and the Lamborghini, Dennis Lind, is trying to get into the mix as well, but just looking very composed. Patrick Niederhauser, who's starting a fantastic season. He's already got a few wins to his name, not just in this series, but other ones as well. And he's being pushed very hard indeed. But look at the pace of the Ferrari. He got out of turn 3 very, very well indeed. And Martin Rump in the Audi has fallen back. He's being passed now by the OD Racing Audi as well. So it must have been a mistake on the exit of turn 3 from 2nd. Suddenly we have Martin Rump back into 5th position. Fastest lap in the race so far, Patrick Niederhauser. He'll be handing over to Marcus Pommer later on, so that is a good strong pairing. Pommer, though, just brought in this weekend, taken over one of the drives of Group M Racing. In GT4, it's still the 81 BMW leading the way. This is a 1-hour race, and it's a little bit of a mistake there, and pounced on very keenly by Reinhold Renger. Change of lead in the GT4 class, and I think it simply was a slight lapse from the erstwhile class leader in the BMW, Jakuchu, and just couldn't get the car turned into the corner, so he understeered wide, and Renger didn't need a second invitation, but he gives it back again when they get up to turn 4. So it was slow in, fast out, and then fast in, slow out. That was the difference. And so the faster exit led to the better speed down the straight towards turn 4, and the BMW profited again. So maybe also what we're seeing is the fact that actually the Mercedes is handling better, thus the ability to overtake in the corners. But when it gets to the straights, it seems the BMW has plenty of punch. Oh dear, the sister Group M car of Matchell has suddenly tumbled right down to the bottom in class, limping into the pit lane. Is that bodywork rubbing on a punctured tyre? From this angle, it looks as though the car is not running straight. It looks like it's crabbing, so I think that is a puncture. Oh dear, he was running quite safely around about 8th position, chasing very hard Juwon Seo. Alex Matchell, that is a puncture. That is not a planned pit stop. As you can see, they're trying to replace that tyre. Full course yellow, there's the thing. I thought it was FC. It's FCY, full course yellow. This is why we had the yellow flag. Fantastic replay there from a very bold marshal. This car, the 666 Mercedes from Group M Racing. Reinhold Renger running solo this weekend in that one. So he's driver 1 and driver 2. So he did 2 qualifying sessions this morning as well as official practice. Now he's doing the first and second parts of the race. Gap first to second, it's stabilised at about 3.5 seconds. It's come down the odd 10th here or there, and then goes back the other way. So a little bit frustrating for the chasing grouping. Now it's the turn for Martin Rump to be slightly delayed by Andrew McPherson. Lamborghini in a straight line doesn't seem to have the answers for it either using the slipstream, not finding a way by until he takes the outside line up at turn 3, wider in. It lets you carry a bit more speed through the corner, but you have to have enough grip to complete the turn, which he just about does. But bear in mind, the drivers are getting warned, and some will be getting punished for exceeding track limits. And in fact, car number 3 is one of the ones that is starting to pick up warnings. Group M clearly run a very, very well-balanced Mercedes. It just looks fantastic at all points on the circuit. There's the message, pit window open at the top. So the first, those that had decided the starting driver was maybe the slightly weaker one in the pair will bring their driver in as soon as possible. But there's another 9 minutes or so until pit window closes. And to avoid having a red face, all teams would need to get their driver in before that. You can still be in it after the pit window closes, but obviously it's about the pit entry being open for pit stop runners. All drivers have to do a driver change, or in the case of Reinhold Renger, doesn't have a teammate this weekend, so he will stay on board the car, but there's an amount of time you have to be at the standstill. I just want to throw in the mix as well. In the GT3 class, the 888 car, the one that's hit trouble, that will have an extra 15 seconds at a standstill. Talk about insult to injury. It's already come in for a puncture. Now we've got a whole gaggle of cars coming in. Andrew McPherson is in. The 45 Audi is in the pit lane as well. But our race leader, Patrick Niederhauser, 3.3 seconds clear last time around. So just as he gained on Dennis Lind's Lamborghini, the Lamborghini driver bit back again. I think it's just a case of where they find the lapped drivers. Now it almost looks like the opening lap again. We've had a cluster of cars coming out after their pit stops and getting into the thick of the battle. So there is the 19 Lamborghini. Dennis Lind, first of the front runners to make a pit stop. That was from second place. He was about 3.5 seconds down on the 999 Mercedes. That is still going out on the circuit. So as I predicted, Patrick Niederhauser will be going as long as he can. In fact, he's just come into the pit lane. It's trouble, can't quite see the cars leave turn 12. You look for them to accelerate past the commentary position on the track, but he's pitted, and so has the number 27 Ferrari from third place. So how tidy and in and out was for Dennis Lind coming in and going back out onto the circuit, his teammate Martin Kodrick. We'll find out how good it is when we see the 999 Mercedes just behind the pit wall windows, the protection, and they're past the green light and accelerating away, snaking away as Marcus Palmer puts the power down. Try not to put too much down, because that's one of the most embarrassing things you can do, accelerate away from your pit stop and slide off the circuit. It's happened before, it will happen again. And tyres that aren't yet hot, but here comes Marcus Palmer, racing this year in the ADAC series in Germany, also in a Mercedes. That's why he's been drafted across to drive a Mercedes here with Patrick Niederhauser. And there is the image out of turn 3. Before the pit stops, it was the 999 Mercedes and then the 19 Lamborghini, and it's the same. The only difference is the Ferrari in the background has lost ground, because that's just been handed over, the number 27 car, to Nick Foster, and I'm afraid the ins and the outs cost the Ferrari crew. Don't forget they're about 1.5 seconds down on third place, but now it looks, if anything, as though the Lamborghini gained a second out of the race leader, and losing a second on the Lamborghini is the Ferrari. That's why the battle is sort of, instead of being the Mercedes and then the Lamborghini and Ferrari close together, it's the Mercedes and the Lamborghini relatively close together and the Ferrari dropping back somewhat. Right now you can see Kodrick is really starting to close in on Palmer. Gap between them 1.5 seconds. Before the pit stops it was more like 3.5 seconds. So it was indeed a good in by Lind and a good out from Palmer, with the FFF racing team doing their bit in between to turn it round without any particular trouble. Yes, definitely you can see Kodrick is almost in the slipstream now. And the Ferrari losing ground a little bit. So it's Palmer, Kodrick, Foster, just look at their respective, in fact look at their respective times. I'm doing an injustice, because Nick Foster just set the Ferrari, 27 Ferrari's best lap of the race. It's a bit of a visual image there. He's 3.5 seconds back from Kodrick, and well, he's not fighting anyone at the moment, but if he can carry on at that pace, he'll really start chipping away at their advantage. But before the pit stops, it was the 999 Mercedes. Marcus Palmer seems to be settling down now, but Kodrick is getting closer and closer. And in the background, the shot out of turn 3, you can see Nick Foster using all the track, flashing his lights in that red and white Ferrari, seeing what he can do about closing them down. But he is closing them down. 10th here, a 10th there. So it's the 27 Ferrari in third place. And some great Audi battling down the order, but they're not really battling at the front end. That has been a feature here at the Chang International Circuit on the Blancpain GT Series Asia's second race up here, just on the outskirts of Buriram. They haven't been the feature they were 12 months ago here. Ooh, traffic. Car number 82 just sort of getting in the way there. That's Max Chen. He's taken it over from Kenny Rata. Both the first two got through, but another 1/10 of a second or so was lost there by race leader Marcus Palmer. Not his fault. The gap's coming down. He's going to have to hope the driver of another Mercedes, that albeit is a GT4 one from a different camp, but again he's lost out a little bit. The Mercedes from GT4 almost drove off the track, trying his best to keep out of the way, but the gap must be down to 1/2 second, if not slightly less. 0.492, which is what I call slightly less than 1/2 second, is the gap between first and second, and Well, who was fastest in the top three? By half a second, it was Nick Foster. So we've got Mercedes, Lamborghini, Ferrari. Will that be the order at the end of the race? 22.5 minutes remaining, and Nick Foster is doing all he can to make sure, A, the Ferrari gets onto the tail of this lead duo to make it a trio, and B, that he really cuts them down and maybe fancies his chances of going past. In GT4, Reinhold Renger driving on his own. It's quite an advantage, actually. Yes, of course, the drivers get a bit hot. Driving half an hour rather than a full hour will have to, you know, the driver's relatively fresh. But Reinhold has the advantage. Yes, he's slightly tired than if he took it over, this car, but he knows exactly how the car was handling both before the pit stop and afterwards, because he doesn't have to readjust or adjust to a car that might feel slightly strange. He can just simply get on it. So there he is, leading GT4 in the background. Second place car in class, the number 81 BMW from BMW Team Studio. That's Takayuki Kinoshita. I must say those BMWs have looked very strong indeed here. The circuit seems to suit them. Oh no, a spinner from Reinhold Renger, so that probably, does that mean that Kinoshita has gone into lead? He was 5 seconds down in the GT4 class, so he has just kept the lead, but by a great deal. That would have trimmed his advantage in the class. Now, we have no idea why 666 went for a spin. Oh, bottom right, back right of the car. Looks like there's something hanging out underneath. Is that the floor tray that's broken and hanging down? Can't quite see, but it's something that looks actually slightly metallic. Front end shot you can't see. Beautifully picked up by the camera crews and the race director, the TV director. Let's have a little look underneath the back right-hand corner. Something certainly flapping down. I can't see from my commentary position because it's on the wrong side of the car for me. Now, he may be getting a black and orange warning flag. Technical problems. Oh, there's a bit of bodywork in the track on the start-finish straight. Luckily, it's not on the racing line. But if you get two cars heading down towards turn one, you don't want someone diving to the inside and catching that debris on the circuit. But we'll watch out if there are any warning flags for the 666 Mercedes. Well, it's definitely a bit of the under tray hanging off, but they've got to make a decision, because if that comes flying off the back of the car, that could be very dangerous indeed for anybody else who is chasing it. They've got to be the ones that make that decision. Leading the way, though, in the 999 Mercedes from Group M Racing is Marcus Pommer, and he's settled down 3/4 of a second down the racing. Oh, we've just had the number, I think that's the number 5 Audi into the pits. Alex Young was in 14th position. This isn't a scheduled pit stop, so clearly all is not right. It's a drive-through penalty. He's just come in and seems to be driving out the far end. In fact, we've got various drive-through penalties. Number 5, number 11. Oh, yes, hadn't looked at that screen for a while. Number 81. These will be driver track limits. Warnings for the drivers. Those penalties will have been issued. So what's happened? The tail end of the top 10 has become very tight fighting ground. 991. That's Daryl O'Young. He's in the thick of that grouping as well. Sort of from 10th place down to about 14th. Unfortunately, the 97 crew, Rodolphe Bruins, dropping off a little bit down the order. Ju-Won Seo was running 7th, but seemed to be holding up the train of cars behind. There is a little bodywork. That's on the start-finish straight. Only just enough space, 1.5 car widths, halfway down the pit wall. Quarter of an hour left to do it, and that's all the time that Martin Kodrick has got to try and take the lead. But last time around, he was just under 3/10 of a second down. Now he's in front. He's moved into the lead of the race. Timely snap back, change of the lead, and look at how the number 27 car, the Ferrari of Nick Foster, he was 3 and a bit seconds down, and now we've got about 0.3 of a second covering the top 3 cars. So Martin Kodrick now leading the race. Martin Kodrick in behind Marcus Pommer, flustered by having been passed by Kodrick in the Lamborghini, and now he's got Nick Foster, who was chipping away at them, taking half a second here, half a second there, and the Ferrari is a car that clearly 12 months ago looked fantastic here at the Chang International Circuit, and its characteristics continue to be absolutely suitable for this circuit just outside Buriram. I wondered if Foster was going to be able to catch the lead duo and make it a trio, but I didn't think he was going to do it that fast. Kodrick going past the 77 Craft Bamboo Racing GT4 entry. Jean-Marc Merlin handed that over to, Frank Yu handed that over to Jean-Marc Merlin. And Merlin, French racer in his 50s, keeps out of his way, so doesn't obstruct Pommer or Foster. But what we're starting to see is Kodrick is just starting to eke his way clear. For all it takes, a gaggle of slower cars from the GT4 class getting slightly in his way, and he'll be compromised. But sometimes being the first car in the train of front runners is the best place to be. In fact, just coming up, I think that could be the number 80. Yes, it is the number 80. Cayman Racing Spirit Thailand, one of 3 Thai GT4 crews, all in Porsche Caymans, manages to see the chasing pack, and that's Preda, Tantem Sapia, and keep out of the way. that unfortunately was our race leader, Martin Kodrick. I just had to double check it wasn't 63. This will be stop and go penalty. It really was stop and go penalty, and the timing screen is just full of the names of team managers who have to go up to race control, including from FFF Racing for the 19 Lamborghini. That's the car that's made it stop and go penalty. He's going to be far from alone, but that's taken our race leader and dropped him down, right down the order. So suddenly the advantage swings back towards the 999 Mercedes. Not either of those two in shot, but that one there coming into the background. Nick Foster in the Ferrari for Hub Auto Corsa was right on its tail. It looks like Pommer's got the measure of him. Earlier in the second part of the race, we saw the Ferrari driver taking half a second per lap out of both Kodrick and Marcus Pommer in the 999 Mercedes. Now I think it... Ooh, well, there's... Now, drivers been given warnings for track limits, and that was a massive run around the outside. All four wheels off the circuit going out of turn number 7 for our race leader, Marcus Pommer. We've just had problems that led to the 19 Lamborghini being hauled in to make a drive-through penalty, or a stop and go for about 1 second. That's dropped it right down the order. Might well be now one coming towards Marcus Pommer. So suddenly the 27 Ferrari could be sitting very pretty. That's not sitting pretty. That's a tyre carcass. Can't see exactly where that is on the circuit, but that may well need to be recovered. That actually could work to the advantage of Marcus Pommer if we have to have a full course yellow. We had one earlier in the race as debris had to be cleared. Is the bodywork damage in the front right-hand corner? Front left-hand driver corner. Oh, it's the front right-hand corner. Yes, missing, well, the rubbery bit that goes on the wheel. So very unfortunate indeed for number 81, and that was Takayuki Kinoshita, who's been running second in the GT4 class. So suddenly we've got Jean-Marc Merlin leading the class. Oh, well, fantastic bit of camera work there. Doesn't make great viewing for Kinoshita, but that is the result of obviously delamination and going off the tyres. So he did well to limp back, but there may well be bodywork damage within that wheel arch as well as the edges of it, coming in with no tyre on the front right-hand corner on that 81 BMW. So there is the leader in GT4. Well, no messages coming our way yet. Anything to do with the bodywork hanging off the back of the 666 car, Mercedes that leads GT4. So maybe it's deep that it hasn't deteriorated. So 3.5 minutes remaining. It's for Marcus Pommer to put the GT4 cars between himself and the chasing Nick Foster. He's done precisely that, 2 off them, giving him a nice little buffer. It was 1.1 seconds on start-finish line. You can see the AMAC Lamborghini left of screen. That's had an extra pit stop, so Ben Porter now at the wheel, but keeping nicely out of the way as they come down to turn 4. And for Marcus Pommer, he'll be putting a smile on the face of Patrick Niederhauser, because there are still other cars between them. In fact, one of them is the second Group M Racing Mercedes. That is a lap down, though. The tight battle at the front has now moved out to just under 2 seconds. There's the 999 Mercedes, but importantly for him, the 888 Mercedes is lapped, but it's between him on the circuit and the chasing Nick Foster. And I'd have to say, as we're into the final minute now, you feel that Marcus Pommer has got this one in the bag. Down to turn 12 inside one of the GT4 Porsche Caymans. Riding shotgun behind him, Maxi Book. This has got to be a Mercedes race. Great run from Nick Foster, giving chase, building on the work in the early part of the race from Leo Yi. But alas for Martin Kodrick, you have to feel for him. He had the drive-through penalty, but warned for exceeding track limits. Not alone in that, but then got the drive-through penalty. Running in 5th around out of turn 9 to turn 10, because this is the final lap. He's just got the final sequence of corners. He's gone through turn 11, 12 corners on a lap, so it's a photo finish, albeit with the 888 Mercedes not in the points reckoning. And so the 999 Mercedes takes the checkered flag in a flamboyant swerve, and the 27 Ferrari comes through in 2nd place. So for Reinhold Renger, the only driver to do the entirety of this 1-hour race on his own, had that spin. Don't know what caused the spin. It could have been the bodywork hanging down, but you sort of feel it was because of the spin. Rejoined, went to 2nd place in class, but the car that was challenging him for GT4 honours ended up having to have a drive-through penalty, and that meant the Group M Racing win the GT3 class and the GT4 class. So victory to Patrick Niederhauser to build on one he scored at Sepang. And Marcus Pommer came on board this weekend, has made an instant impact. He weathered the battle, a charge from Nick Foster, being overtaken by the Lamborghini of Martin Kodrick, but comes away with the maximum points haul. Ready for the celebrations, Patrick Niederhauser. He's having a great year, and it's just getting better and better. There's Patrick, the balls of his feet. Come on, come out of here and give me a hug. So Marcus Pommer, helmeted and no doubt hot, and Patrick Niederhauser has managed to cool down.
What was that like to watch?
Terrible, terrible. No, it's much worse than driving by its own. I mean, you know, on the outside you just can hope, and I mean, I trusted Marcus that he's going to finish the job, but it's so you never know it until the checkered flag. And but yeah, I was much more nervous than my own start, but yeah, now it's a big relief and I'm super happy.
P1. Marcus, you brought that car over the line. You ready to talk to us? Tell us how you did that.
Yeah, it was actually quite tough because our pit stop was not perfect because one car was in front of us. So I had to steer a lot and lost like 2 seconds maybe. So I had to push like hell, and then was every lap traffic with the GT4. And then one guy, I nearly crashed with him. So I lost the position to the Lambo, but I already knew that he has a drive-through. So I relaxed. And yes, at the end, I just focused on driving on the track, no mistake, and bring it home. That's it.
Eventful for you guys, but happy?
Sorry?
Eventful, but happy now.
Yeah, of course, we are really happy. It's our first victory together. We are the first time here together, and so that's a good job also from the team, Group M, so amazing.
Yeah, I tell you, it was a hard race. A lot of things going on, but finally was lucky and we won, yeah.
And a double effort from you.
Yeah, so double stint. So we got for this, of course, a penalty, so plus 7 seconds again. But finally I could manage it. It was very hard. It's super warm inside the car, and the competitors are very strong. So I have to push from the beginning to the end. Made a mistake also, and so in the end I'm super happy that I could bring it back.
The victory today in GT4 went to the 666 Mercedes of Reinhold Renger and Reinhold Renger. He did both parts of the race, so up onto the top step. He had his woes, he had his spin, he had that bodywork dragging off the back of the car, but he still came good to win. We've had plenty to talk about in the first of the 2 races. It was victory to Mercedes, ahead of Ferrari, ahead of Audi, and then Lamborghini in 4th place. 4 different makes of car. Plenty of activity around the circuits. Drive-through penalties for some, not for others, and that is exactly how it worked for the Group M racing team. And that is why victors today in race 1 were Marcus Pommer and Patrick Niederhauser.
Bruce, I mean, it's been great, hasn't it? We saw the GT3 and the GT4 being won by Mercedes yesterday, but that's not exactly a sure thing, is it?
There is nothing that's a given, Renai. The racing here is fantastic. We had 4 makes of cars in the top 4 positions yesterday, and we had a 5th make that could have won the race but didn't for one particular reason, which I'll touch on later. It's a fantastic mix, but don't forget, today the driver that started first will start second, so we've got different starting drivers today. We're going to have a whole new story.
And it's been incredible to be in Thailand with so many fans.
The fans are truly phenomenal. You can hear the hubbub behind. We've had them just cleared out of the pit lane. Many are going to come down. The VIPs on the grid. Audi Racing have brought, it seems like, 40,000 people. The passion is phenomenal, and it powers the drivers, it powers the pit crews and us as well. It gives us a real buzz, and it's wonderful.
I'm excited for it. What can they expect?
Well, it's a 1-hour race. We have a driver change roughly halfway through. That changed the order a lot yesterday, and the Lamborghini, number 19, had worked his way into the lead of the race. Really great job, but unfortunately they were at the standstill 1 second too few and got a drive-through penalty. Ended up down in 5th. So expect more from them. A really good driver lineup. Dennis Lind and Martin Kodrick could be today's winners.
Track temperature now listed as 56.7, so it's bobbing up and down, but certainly 60 degrees is the highest we've seen all meeting so far. That could have a factor to play. The team bosses will be telling the drivers to make sure they keep their tyres as fresh as they possibly can right up to the pit stops. Then who's it going to be leading the chase to the front? Maxi Book makes a good start behind him. Adelie Fong nips out. Tim Slade not so well away in the Ferrari. The second Ferrari with Nick Foster now looks up the inside. He gains a position, and the driver on the outside of the second row, Josh Burden, goes from 4th down to 5th. Behind pretty much everybody stays on, or at least near the track, but Maxi Book has done what he needs to. Tim Slade now fighting back in the yellow Ferrari. Adelie Fong just realising he's gone to the outside line, but now there's a yellow Ferrari there. He's got his nose in front, but Maxi Book has done everything he needs to do. Nick Foster now up into 3rd place. Great start for the second of the Ferraris. Josh Burden trying to hang on in 5th as they come back over the undulating ups and downs from turn 3 to turn 4. Mercedes still in front, having to go to the outside line, but seemingly with plenty of pace. Tim Slade goes wide on the way in, tries to go tight on the way out, but Maxi Bouk has seen moves like that before. But it's a bit of a fight back. Nick Foster almost getting touched by Adderley Fong, but he's been pushed wide at turn 5. He's out on the dirty, dusty stuff, and he loses the position. It's going to take a moment or two to get the dust back off those tyres. So very, very feisty indeed. But what's happened is Foster and Fong are fighting so hard as the first two have made their break. Well, that's a dream for those two. So leading the race, Maxi Bouk. In behind, we have Tim Slade trying his absolute utmost to stay in touch. The Mercedes of Reinhold Renger has made its way through and has just taken the lead in the class from Kinoshita in the Team Studi 81. The second Team Studi car has actually got tucked in behind the 72 Mercedes that started stone last, 10th and last in GT4. Ooh, one of the second of the BMWs getting pushed very wide indeed out at turn 1. If you do that on a consistent basis, you will start to get driver warning flags, and then you will get drive-through penalties, and they've not been afraid to issue them. But look out for Matsuda. He's chasing the 37 Audi and the 18 Nissan. Seems to have plenty of grunt as he works his way down to turn 3, but for that big broad hairpin, he's on the outside line. He's going to have to tuck down and see how good his exit speed is, but they both go relatively wide on the exit. But you can be sure that Josh Burden in the 37 Audi knows full well it's a very, very serious challenge. Don't forget, number 18 car is the one that started 16th yesterday, had its problems in the race, as we heard from just before the start of the race, and is making things very easy indeed. Worked his way up to 6th today. It's just moved up to 4th place. And you know what? I don't think it's going to stop there. Maxi Bouk in the 888 just keeps chipping away, just keeps stretching his advantage over Tim Slade. Tim, as we saw in practice and qualifying, very, very good on individual laps, but I think in full race trim, the Mercedes is looking very, very good indeed. But then it's not just any old Mercedes, it's a Group M racing Mercedes. It's got Maxi Bouk at the wheel. So you join up those advantages, and Tim Slade's doing a very good job in the faster of the two hub auto Ferraris to stay as close as he is, still around 2 seconds down on the race leader. And the second hub auto Ferrari, you can see in the background Nick Foster, those yellow lights blazing. And what you can see though is closing all the time. Hideshi Matsuda in that number 81 Nissan, sorry, 18 Nissan. Maxi Bouk, as he crosses the start-finish line, is 0.4 of a second. It's now 0.3 of a second. You can't get any closer than that with touching. So down in the world of Group M racing, looks very serious indeed. And for Alexander Matchell, who'll take over from the race leader Maxi Bouk, he is an AM class driver. This guy's running in the Pro-Am class. There's nothing AM about Maxi Bouk, but naturally he's the driver who's going to be quicker of that pairing. Tim Slade tries the outside line, but Maxi Bouk wise to it, but Tim Slade tighter on the exit there, wider on the way and tighter on the exit, all but pushing that Mercedes up over the rises and dips on that run from turn 3 to turn 4. Again, he'll be shown the outside line. There's a Group M Mercedes ahead of them, but that's the one. Reinhold Renger running in the lead of GT4, didn't get in the way at all, but what it did do was remove the opportunity for Tim Slade to look to the outside at turn 4, but it stays even Stevens between the race leading duo. Maxi Bouk continues in front for the Group M Mercedes racing team, but being pushed very hard indeed by Tim Slade in that 27 Ferrari. The sister car, sorry, 28 Ferrari, the sister car, 27 in the background. Nick Foster still holding down 3rd place, but Sugio Matsuda in the number 18 Nissan is keeping him very, very honest indeed. They've been a really consistent pairing so far this year. Nick Foster and Liu Yihong Li, Chinese racer, have finished 4th and 5th at Sepang, 2nd yesterday. They're running 3rd today. This is the sort of consistency that leads to titles, or at least that's what they're hoping. They've obviously got to hold it on through 8 more races across the 4 remaining rounds. But right now, Nick Foster's doing a very good job indeed. But Hideki Matsuda, sorry, Sugio Matsuda, keep getting the wrong Matsuda, is just having a look here and look there. Hasn't yet made a really serious bid. But our race leader, it's settled down. It's gone back out to about 1.9 seconds. We had Tim Slade right on the tail of Maxi Bouk not so long ago. And here we are 3 minutes before the pit window opens, and Tim Slade very comfortably in 2nd place. And in fact, he's nearly 7.5 seconds clear of his teammate Nick Foster. Oh dear, it looks like a left rear puncture for the AMAC Lamborghini. So for Ben Porter, he was hoping to make a pit stop about this time, in about 2 minutes' time, to start pit window and do driver change to Andrew McPherson, our race leader. Still, as the pit window is now open, Maxi Book from Tim Slade, it went out to 1.9 seconds again, then has come down to 1.4. I would reckon these two, they're the quicker driver in both of their pairings. They will stay out for about another 8 minutes or so and come in just before the pit entry closes for pit stops. 666 leader from the GT4 class, Reinhold Renger, comes in. Don't forget, he has to get out of the car and get back in. You can see the German racer just clambering out, goes behind the white line, just out of our view. He has to stay there for 7 seconds before he can return to the car and get strapped back in all over again. Majority of the front runners have not pitted. 19 Lamborghini, though, has pitted. And don't forget, this is a car that started in 9th position. I fancied it to work its way forward. Dennis Lind will now take over, and he's the driver who moved to the front of the race yesterday. Today it's a rather different story, but he could well pick himself up to a relatively decent position. And into the pits, Alexander Matschel has just taken over from Maxi Book, waiting to be signalled out. Goes out just behind the AMAC Lamborghini. Now, where will he slot in? The yellow Ferrari came in a lap ago. I would think the lead was large enough. Don't forget there was that lap just before their pit stops. Oh, it's an easy lead, because as the Mercedes leaves the pit, the yellow Ferrari is just turning into turn 12, but it's quite a long pit exit, but I still fancy that 888 Mercedes will be in front for Alexander Matschel. He will then be fighting against the second driver in the 28 Ferrari, which will be Maurice Chen. Thai pay, with no disrespect, Tim Slade is the star in that car, so it's up to Maurice to do the most solid job he can do. It looks like he's got a deficit at the moment of about 6 seconds. 97 continues to battle with 7. That's Juwon Seo, Korean racer, snaking away in his Mercedes, and a little bit of body rubbing there. So number 7 now in the hands of Andrew Kim. So it's 2 Korean racers and 1 piece of track, and unfortunately a little bit of body rubbing with the Mercedes leaving its brake a little too late, I think. So, race leader before the pit stops, the 888 Mercedes. After the pit stop, also the 888 Mercedes. Maxi Book has handed over to Alexander Matschel. Where is the yellow Ferrari? Looks like Maurice Chen is losing positions rather than gaining ground. So the great moments for the yellow Ferrari from Hub Auto Corsa ended when Tim Slade got out of the car, but for Maurice Chen, matter of pride, he'll be doing his utmost to stay as much in touch as he can do. But look, there are almost no cars in sight, but there are no cars in sight behind our race leader. Here is Maurice Chen, but he's listed as down in 4th position at the moment. This battle for GT4 honours, the 666 car of Reinhold Renger, because it's the sister car, Patrick Niederhauser, taking over from Marcus Pommer, down in 11th place at the moment in the 999 entry. One of their 2 cars in GT3, but GT4, the battle is clearly very tough indeed. Marchi Lee trying to gain a position. Number 5 Audi, yep, going up past Hiroaki Nagai. So the ARN Racing Ferrari going backwards and going in the opposite direction and hoping to continue his rise. Marchi Lee, one of last year's pair of Silver Cup winners. He shared the title with Sean Thong. Didn't do the opening race in Malaysia, but has joined Alex Young in the Phoenix Racing Asia Audi, and they're the oldest Silver Cup pairing by far, with an average age of roughly 41.5 years. Archie showing plenty of attack there. This is the battle for second place. The Lamborghini from the Nissan. In the background, the second of the Lamborghinis, Dennis Lind. He was 5th a blink ago. He's now up to 4th. He's moved. In fact, they both put Anthony Liu back because the 27 Ferrari is also making up ground all over again. So Leo Yi now at the wheel. And here comes that move for second place. And Hamaguchi goes out very wide, doesn't back off out of turn 3, but a better exit speed should have that Nissan in front. It looks though it is as it comes through the heat haze. I haven't checked the track temperature for a while, but it's certainly hot. But Hamaguchi has not backed out as he goes down to turn 4. I think we're going to have a lot of place changes, quite frankly, because we've got some quicker drivers making their way up the order. Martin Rupp, just remember, in that number 3 Audi, the one we're looking at now, is down in 8th, but he will be making progress. And also the 999 Mercedes has been given a drive-through penalty, is serving it now. That's Patrick Niederhauser, one of yesterday's winners. Another car that's picked up a drive-through penalty is 37, so Josh Burden started that car, but Anthony Liu, he was briefly in 4th place, now down to 6th. He's going to go tumbling in the 37 Audi. It does seem that the 97 Mercedes loves its action. It's running down in 15th place. Ju Won-seo, he's just trying to take the battle to Hiroaki Nagai in the number 8 ARN Racing Ferrari. They're not fighting really for points, they're outside the top 10, but they're fighting for pride at the moment. In behind them you can see one of the Craft Bamboo cars, that's Aidan Reed, who seems to have gained places then lost them all over again, so he's fighting his way back in 991. And certainly as the Ferrari and the Mercedes fight so hard with each other, there's every opportunity for him to close right in. That 19 Lamborghini, the car that should have won yesterday but for the drive-through penalty, is made up so much ground. It's now 2nd and 3rd for the Lamborghinis. It's still Hamaguchi in front, but he won't be for much longer. The pace with which the 19 car of Dennis Lind has closed in. Not so long ago when he took it over, it was nowhere really near the sharp end. But he's absolutely flying, Dennis Lind. So let's have a look. Here's the Lamborghini. Andrew McPherson goes past the Morsang Racing Cayman and up the inside. And I think we can remove any blame whatsoever from Andrew McPherson, because I'm afraid he was assaulted rather than the assaultee. And unfortunately there for Chavanin Budit Kansada, he was a little ambitious, and there's a sort of saying in racing, when the luck deserts you, you get everything that can be possibly thrown at you. There is the 888 Mercedes, and it looks like it's come down way more than that, about 6 seconds, 5.699 seconds, but that's enough, surely, for Alexander Matschul to bring it home in the lead of the race. Dennis Lind, mighty stint yesterday to work his way from 5th or so up to the lead of the race. Then, cruelly, that drive-through penalty took away chance of victory, left them with 5th place today. Despite all the heroics, starting down in 9th place, wasn't the best place to be. They lost ground, fell to 11th in that opening stint. But Dennis Lind has been absolutely mighty. Turn 12, out of the 12 turns on the circuit, there is the checkered flag. 2 races, 2 wins over 2 days, 1 for the 999 Group M entry yesterday, and today it was the 888 crew that take victory. Dennis Lind at the end, 3.77 seconds down. But GT4 coming through to take victory. 2nd win in 2 days for Reinhold Renger in the 666 Mercedes. So it's Mercedes 1st, Lamborghini 2nd, and Nissan 3rd for the overall honours. The adrenaline is still pumping for Alexander Matschul, so he will be delighted. Group M Racing will be delighted, and Maxi Boot continues to deliver.
Alexander, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a great race. I must say, Max did everything, so I just had to finish it. But it was pretty hot in the car, and I'm really enjoying this here.
Hot day, hot racing. Max?
It was okay. I was some 1 or 2 moments where it was a bit close, where to defend, but overall the car was perfect. Alex did an amazing job, Group M as well, so it was a perfect race.
It was pretty cool. It was really hot. I think it was even hotter than Malaysia this time around, so struggling a bit with overall performance in the tires and the brakes, and racing like this in these conditions is fantastic because every lap is different. So really good job to the whole team, very good job to Lamborghini for bringing us on a strong car, and Martin did a fantastic job in stint 1 to keep as many as possible in behind him, and yeah, it was perfect from there.
Okay, incredible turnaround from yesterday's race, yes.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday's race was going all our way until the unlucky pit stop. So yeah, we made a really good recovery for today. We knew we were there, and we had to bring it home. And yeah, today race went really well. We got the points, which is good. We bounced back from yesterday very well. So yeah,
it was unexpected, to be honest. It was super hot today, but the car was really stable from the start to the beginning. And I couldn't take the lead after 2 laps, and so I could make my my speed also, and I guess this was then the goal to the win.
That is the end of a 2nd meeting here for the Blancpain GT Series Asia. We're heading off to Japan next, to Suzuka. Can anybody take the battle to the Group M Racing Mercedes? I think we'll certainly see. FF Racing certainly will give it a go. That's it for now. Goodbye.